So at this point, I want to show two very short films. I did them last year during the pandemic, during the lockdown. There's still a pandemic, but during the stricter lockdown in the Philippines, these were done for my assignments in School of Visual Arts. And this first one is completely no cost. I'll show you the film and then I'll discuss some of the elements and how I was able not to pay for anything. So let me just share that video with you. All right, so this is Bilang.
Mahal kong Rosa, it was nice to hear from you. Sa aking career, ikaw pa lamang ang nagtanong sa akin ito. Paano ko mailalarawan ang musika sa isang may kapansanan sa pandinig? Kapag tumutugtog ako, pumipikit ako at may nakikita akong kulay. Mozart, luntian at dilaw. Yung mapaglarong araw na sumisilip sa mga dahon ng puno. Beethoven, matingkad na pula. Parang yung balabal ng mga harit reyna na gawa sa pelus. Bach, yan ang paborito ko. Nakita mo na ba ang langit mula sa eroplano at naramdamang napakataas mo sa alapaap? O kaya'y nagpahabol sa dagat sa dalampasigan? Yan ang Bach. Bughaw ang Bach. Rosa, matanda na ako ngayon. Unti-unti nang humihina ang aking pandinig. Di na kasing tingkad ang kulay ng aking musika. Pero ngayon, nakikita kong hindi ito ang malamaya ng alikabok at abo. Ang musika ay pilak. Pilak na tulad ng kwertas na umuukit sa aking daliri. Pilak na kumikinang, di pangkaraniwan, bagay na napakahalaga. Ang musika ay ang siyudad sa gabi na mistulang mga bituin ang mga ilaw ng mga gusali. Matagal ko ring inisip kung anong gagawin ko, kung paano ako mabubuhay kapag walang musika. Tinulungan mo akong makitang muli ang mga kulay ng musika. Hindi na ako nag-aagam-agam. Nagmamahal, Lolo.
Okay, so that is Pilak. And so how did I make it no cost, zero cost filmmaking? First of all, the actors are all my so the main actor is my dad. I know there are a lot of people here na kilala yung dad ko. So he had to do this for me. And then my mom was there, and then the one playing the cello is my boyfriend. He also shot the film. He helped me with all of the shots. So all of the shots also are either from videos that I've had before. So yung mga tree with the light, the sky from the airplane, the ano pa yung isa, the beach, the ocean, all of those I had before from random vacations. So another little tip na wala dun sa wala sa presentation is anywhere you go, try to shoot B-roll for everything. Yung things that you may or may not use, but you have all of that stock footage that is yours, that you can use anytime that you might need. So build up your library of B-roll, stock footage, anytime you go out, anytime you travel, pag pwede na mag-travel. So I think we're running kind of long, so I won't show you the other video. Anyway, that one had like some cost to it. So mas maganda naman yung pilak as an example. Pero kung may part 2, MMAAP, we can talk more about it. But let me go on um, to other things. These are just the last 3 reminders that I would have. This is for forever tips and tricks that you can do, not just when you're preparing or doing a film or doing post production. These are things you can do all the time. And again, this is free to low cost, is to keep learning all as much as you can. Learn more and more about film, about filmmaking behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Expose yourself as much as you can to good films and bad films, and be able to analyze them intelligently. And if you're able to do that, you can learn from everything and anything that you watch. Um, Here, I just put some websites. You might already be familiar with them. But these are great websites for learning resources related to film. You have No Film School, Studio Binder, and Cinema 5D. And then these are YouTube channels na have great analysis of film, discussions with the director, breakdowns of scenes, and yeah, all around just analysis of film that you can learn so much from. Next is to find your tribe. So if you're really a film enthusiast, try to connect with other film enthusiasts. And this is between free to low, depending on the event that you go to. Hopefully, may mga in-person events now, but all of these listed here, all of these groups listed here have online events. So you have Cine Sunday, Cine Panghalina, FDCP has several events, Cinemalaya and other festivals. Can be low cost if you go to their free side events, which feature talks with different directors, interactions, etc. So be on the lookout for that. CCP has Pasinaya, which is your free or pay what you want special day, and they've done online versions of it as well. And then be on the lookout for free screenings like Cine Europa, Egasai. All of these resources are there, and not everyone is either aware of it or not everyone takes advantage of it. So for free learning opportunities, take advantage of all of these. And by attending those events, especially when we get to attend them in person, you'll be able to find your tribe. You'll be able to find people who share your same interests, who are on the same page as you, and who want to support you in doing your film. And maybe you can form your crew from there. And then more importantly, also, when you can, give back. So if you ask your friends to do something free for you, when you're able to, when you become a successful filmmaker with a budget, and you're doing another film, try to pay your crew who used to work for you for free, or give back in the sense of you do a service for them as well. If they do their film, then you support them on their set with your skills. Okay, so that's important, I think. Just because you're able to get something for free with talent or with cast, with crew, when you can, try to give back as well. Also give back to the community with what you can share in terms of talks, in terms of interactions, in terms of knowledge with this tribe that you're forming. And one last thing is story is always key, and story is free. It's from you. It's from your experiences. It's from your imagination. And talking about value, talking about significance, I like to say this all the time to my students. Kapag may kwento ka, may kwenta ka. If you have a story to tell, you will always have value and significance in the society, in the film world, and beyond for all of your audiences. So always have a story to tell. Always know what you want to tell the world. Kapag may kwento ka, may kwenta ka. All right, so those are my 3x3 plus forever tips, tricks, hacks for no cost and low cost filmmaking. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. I think we might have a little bit of time.
Wow, thank you very much. Can everyone give her a round of applause? Even if we can't hear it. Oh, there. Lots of claps. I'm loving those claps. Miss Ida is loving it. Who may send stars lang sana, a joke. Anyway, we are ready for all your questions. So Miss Ida can answer. So any of you have any questions? Just type it in the chat box below. Yes, type it here in the chat box. We are also on Facebook Live. Let's check if there are questions there. But before that, I'd like to ask, how is the experience doing your master's there in New York? I mean, as a filmmaker and also a student in a foreign country, is it like extra more challenging for you, more challenging as compared to how you were doing it before when you were here in the Philippines?
Yeah, it is super challenging and sometimes a little bit intimidating to be in a foreign country and work with so many different people that you don't know or you only met like when you start shooting. And you're worried now, what are their expectations? Or everyone's been on like a professional set and you don't know like if it's the same standards or if they run it the same way as in the Philippines. So it was intimidating at first, and then I just had to remind myself, na um, I have a vision, and these people wanted to be on board because yun nga, they believed in the script, they believed in the story, so they're there to support me, and then you have to just lead them, no matter who they are and no matter where you are. But also in terms of cost, since we're talking about low cost filmmaking, it's much more expensive here for sure. But I did that crowdfunding campaign for my thesis film, and I had so much support from the Philippines and from the US and everywhere in between. So that was a learning experience for me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that wonderful answer. We have another question here. Of course, since we are talking about low cost filmmaking, how can you achieve a stabilized footage if you don't have a gimbal? Oh, I know that's hard. Kasi
But
usually, di ba, when you shoot, very shaky. How do you do that without a gimbal?
yeah, so that is difficult. So one, ideally you would have a gimbal. Two, I think if you want to use a shot that is for atmosphere or is not sensitive to sound, if you're able to use an action cam that has built-in stabilization. So kung may GoPro or DJI, any of those would give you great stabilization. Using your cell phone camera only, one way or one good tip is to use both hands all the time, so that you have a little bit more stabilization. And then one last thing is in post, you can kind of apply a little bit of stabilization as well. So in your editing software, there usually is an option for stabilization. If it's too much, if it's too shaky, magwo-warp yung image. But if it's just a little shaky, if it's just a little bit of movement, then you can fix it in post. And also, if you have a steady shot, there are some tricks in post as well that you can simulate a tracking shot, tracking motion, or a zoom. So a lot of these things, if you have just good footage na steady shot, you can kind of play with it in post-production then.
Thank you. I always have a problem with that when I try to take videos. Follow-up question. Does lighting in a film affect your story that you're trying to convey to your audience, especially if you have limited resources?
Yeah, lighting is always important. Um, Actually, mood lighting could help a lot. So if it's shadowy and it's appropriate for your film, then that could still work. However, in my advice earlier, I said shoot with as much available light as you can, just so you're sure that the image is clear. So I'd say if you really have no resources, your best bet is to shoot with as much light, as much available light as you can, without having to deal with all the fancy mga lighting, shadow effects, Rembrandt lighting, what have you. If you really don't have the resources for any type of lighting, then just basic shoot with as much light as you can to get um, a clear image. And again, with your clear image, you can work on it on post in color correction, in color grading to maybe change up the mood of your lighting that way. And then I'm sure if you go on to the mga no film school sites and some of the resources that I shared earlier, there are a lot of ways to use just practical lights, meaning lamps or bulbs, to create different effects, even without your big studio lights. So you keep on learning, and then also just very basic, shoot as clearly as possible, so the material you have, you can play around with in post.
Thank
for this
you.
question.
Here's another question sent privately by a fan. When working, yes, when working with other film students abroad, how are they different from Filipino filmmakers in terms of storytelling? And do you think there is an advantage in trying to go global with our own stories as Filipinos?
That's a very interesting question. First of all, working with um, foreign students, number one, the language barrier is real. So that was one thing that's very major that we had to overcome at first. And then once we overcame that, if you look at the stories, you can always kind of narrow them down or strip them down to themes that are universal, just with different, different characters, different settings, different sensibilities, but we all are united in these universal themes. I think what does make, from my experience, what makes Filipino filmmakers different is we want to tell Filipino stories. Because a lot of my other classmates who are foreign, and since we're shooting in New York, came up with stories that are very American, and they used like white actors, American actors, because it was their chance to shoot in the US. So yun yung idea nila, which is okay. But for me and for another Filipino American who was in my class, it was important for us to tell Filipino or Filipino American stories. And I see that in Filipino filmmakers as well. Na whatever story we tell, there's a touch of Filipino or being Filipino, having that representation is important to us. So that's what I think the advantage of Filipino filmmakers is.
Thank you so much. Here's another question from another fan. Ang daming fans ni Ika. How do you deal with a lot of your creative block? I mean, filmmaking, storytelling. Kasi like, as you mentioned, di ba, kanina, pag may kwento ka, may kwenta ka. What if, how do you deal with having the parang pagka-block sa pag-iisip ng kwento? Kasi parang you're pressured na mag-isip ng kwento, pero sometimes if you're in the industry and you want to like make a mark, make a dent, parang nape-pressure ka sa kwento mo instead of just being happy and creative in doing it. So parang sometimes it forces you to be
Yeah.
parang gets that parang it's not good enough. So how do you deal with that kind of creative conflict or block?
Pag wala ka ng kwento, wala ka ng kwenta. Na joke lang. Hindi,
Wala na ba kaming
no, no, no.
kwenta?
Um, I think, well, in dealing with creative block, I know there are a lot of students here. Pag wala kang maisip na story, I think the best way to deal with writer's block or art block or creative block is to not write, to not force yourself to do art, to do film, to do whatever is being blocked, and to go out and do other things. So ako, lahat ng stories ko so far are, for my films, are inspired by my experiences as a journalist. So I used to write for the Philippine Star, and that let me meet so many people. That's how I got to South Cotabato and met the Tiboli Dreamweavers, and then I did a film out of that. I covered the reenactment of the Escalante Massacre, the 31st anniversary commemoration, and that's been with me for several years, and I knew I wanted to do a film about that as well. So all of my ideas come from not sitting down and writing. They come from going out, experiencing different things, talking to different people, and being open to the stories that are around you and the stories that are within you. So that openness is something that you need to overcome creative block. And then I think yung other part of the question from Miss Hannah, or from the fan, whoever it was, is to not worry about, is this good enough, or is this, significant enough, but knowing why you are doing a particular story, why you are telling a particular story, ano yung significance niya, ano yung halaga niya para sa'yo. And if it's important to you, then there is a huge chance that there's significance for your audience. So always be sure that you're doing something significant, and you're doing something for a purpose. And with that, it becomes an important work for those who watch it.
Very significance and purpose. Note that, guys. We are up to our last two questions since we are a bit over time, but it's okay. Thank you, Miss Ida, for still being here with us. Here's a question. What if you're starting to lose interest in filmmaking? Like you're starting to doubt yourself?
Okay. If you're starting to lose interest, same thing as creative block, take a step back. Why did you start to love filmmaking in the first place? What made you passionate about filmmaking before this burnout? I'm expecting this is like a burnout question. And go back to that.
I think parang aside from burnout, yung sinasabi niya parang yung kasi you doubt yourself kasi ang daming magagaling. Yung feeling mo something like that.
Okay. Well, and try to be passionate about it again. Go back to your film idols. Go back to watching movies that you love without pressure of having to be great. And then if you're worried na ang daming magaling na filmmakers, hindi ako kasama doon, then you're worrying about the wrong things, I think. Each person has a different perspective, and each perspective is valid. It's your own story that you have to tell without worrying about the others. And at the same time, with what I said earlier about finding your tribe, kung may mga magagaling na filmmakers, try to learn from them. Try to become friends with them if you can. They might have, secrets that they can share with you kung ba't sila magaling, or they might want to help you. They might want to support you. If they're older filmmakers, they might give you advice. So try to be open to not having to be the best one in a group of filmmakers. try to, learn from each other and support each other. And those who are the best try to be open to creating a community that uplifts other artists around you and really strengthen it. Will only strengthen the Filipino filmmaking community. So be open to sharing what you know with everyone else.
Yes, it's all about having fun and just really doing your craft, not for other people, but for yourself. And, maybe in the end, they pick up on that and you get to reignite your passion, right? So we have our last question here from an anonymous, a person who wants to remain anonymous and your biggest fan again.
Wow.
Coming fans. What was your favorite? Yes. Syempre, we are the Mundo Nation. Lalo na si Miss Ida, very talented, skillful, matalino, musician, beautiful ba, diba? Pero ito, what was your favorite no-cost film that you produced, and what was the biggest challenge you experienced when you produced it?
Oh, okay. So I guess the one that I shared, Pilak, is my favorite no-cost film that I've produced. The challenges were really just coming up with a concept that I could do in lockdown. That's an added challenge with the resources that I had, knowing what was available to me, knowing who could help me, and then convincing everyone to help me. Like my dad, if you know him, he's known for being, quiet and reserved. And I was like, can you do this for me? And we're going to show it in class. And he didn't know that I was going to show it here to everyone. So being able to do that, I think it's my favorite no-cost film as well, because I think it was done with good quality, even without spending anything. So it's challenging, but it's also very rewarding as well. And I think we can end with that note. No cost filmmaking and filmmaking in general is a communal art. Filmmaking is done by a huge group of people, and no cost filmmaking especially will bring you closer to the people that you work with, your friends and family who support you, and you'll be creating that bond and making that bond even stronger with the work that you do together. So that's one of the big benefits of low cost filmmaking.
Thank you. I'm so happy hearing all your thoughts, and I've learned so much. And I'm sure all the participants here learned so much. Do you want to plug anything like a new movie upcoming, Kickstarter campaign that you guys want to donate to, or where can we find some of your small low-cost films aside from your portfolio? Because I saw your portfolio. What is featured there is Kana, but like yung film with Doc Doy, we already have a fan club for Doc Doy. So Dwalvians, and then for Ida, the Team Del Mundo. Ay, nandito ba si Doc Doy? Anyway, where can we find your films? Or is it pay to watch, free to watch, or is it or do you have anything that you want to plug before we end our session for today?
Yeah, thank you.
Kickstarter campaign.
Thank you,
or
Hannah.
a new movie.
So the website, I'm still going to update it with some of my new films. And yeah, so they can watch out for that. On Instagram, I'm ida.oftheworld. So I usually update more there. My new film, which is coming out soon, it'll premiere here in New York, is called Never Forget. The Seed and Spark crowdfunding campaign is closed already, but you can still follow that page for information. It'll also come out in my Instagram. It'll also come out in my website soon. And then Never Forget short film is also on Facebook. And one last free resource, you can watch Canada Dreamweaver, my first full-length film, for free on the TBA Studios YouTube channel.
Wow, thank you very much, Miss Ida. And thank you very much, everyone, for attending our first MAAP Talks for this year. Again, if you want updates from Miss Ida, follow her at Instagram on @ida.offtheworld. Because yes, she is off the world right now. And her website, idaanitadelmundo.quicksite.com/portfolio. Now let me type it here. Ida. Can someone type it there? but ayun, thank you once again for joining us, Miss Ida. You will get a certificate from us of appreciation and of course a token of our appreciation. And thank you everyone. Don't forget to give us your feedback. It will only take a minute. It's actually here in the chat box, the feedback form. Your certificate of attendance will also follow. Now, before we leave, of course, well, wala namang naka-video. Pero for those who want to be part of our photo session, come on, let's turn on our videos. If not, okay lang din. Kami lang ni Miss Ida muna. Yan. Join us naman, guys. Yan, I see Sir Henry, Mr. Lion, hindi, Sir Lionel. Proud of you! Oh, hello, Miss Ma'am Drina. Hi, I also saw you in the video.
Yeah, that was the hardest scene to shoot.
We are Team Del Mundo here. And we are proud of the family.
Hello, Ma'am Drina. Hello po.
Ayan, so let's take a photo. Sino ba magte-take ng photo?
Ay, ako
Ayan,
na lang,
okay.
Sip. Ako na lang. Ay, wait na. Alright. Again, okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Alright. One more. Wait na. Sorry. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you once again, everybody. And thank you, Miss Ida. Thank you. We would like to acknowledge Miss Trina Del Mundo for being here as well. And thank you once again to everyone for being here. Don't forget to answer our feedback form for you to be able to get your certificate as well of attendance, especially to those students who need certificates. So that's it for our first MAAP Talk. See you again in our next MAAP Talks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to also to our page at MAAP Official. So that's it for today. Good night, everyone. And again, see you soon.
Bye, Miss Ida. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Anna. Thank you, Ma'am, Miss Kat, and Miss Lani. Bye-bye.
Nandito rin si Sir Seymour. Hi, Sir Seymour.